Kia ora and welcome along to the Met Service severe weather update for today, Saturday the 24th of June. We've got more heavy rainfall set to move in towards that northern and eastern part of the country. A red or heavy rain warning still in place for Gisborne at Tairafti, and warnings and watches down through Hawke's Bay, the Coromandel and even parts of the Southland as well, especially those northern parts. But you can see where we've had the rainfall over the last 7 days, an indication that ground is already very saturated. And so this rainfall is going to be falling on top of already very wet conditions. The heaviest rainfall up through parts of northern Tairafti, up in towards the Rail Coomera. Some stations here as much as 480 millimetres of rainfall over the last 7 days. But even down towards the coast, Gisborne Airport has reported in excess of 200 millimetres of rainfall in the last 7 days. And we have got more rain to come as we go through the rest of today for Saturday and even through towards that first part of Sunday. So we have got some more severe weather warnings still in place. You can see this rain continues to feed in on that northeasterly and then gradually moves up towards places like the Coromandel. There is a heavy rain watch out for you as well as we go through towards, say, Sunday. But we are going to keep hold of this wet weather, especially north of Tolaga Bay, right the way through in towards Sunday as well. This northeasterly feed of air keeping things rather cloudy and rather wet on that eastern side of the North Line, but also feeding that rain in towards, say, that eastern coast of Marlborough and also in towards the ranges of Tasman as well. Some watches and warnings in place for you. As we go through towards Sunday, you can see it is an improving story across that northeastern coast. We're going to keep hold of a few showers around first thing and perhaps some wet weather to start the day. And still with that feed of air in towards the Coromandel, another good place to keep a close eye on the forecast. Some wet weather for you. And just keep an eye down towards the south as well. Some wet weather feeding back on towards the western coast of the South Island as we go towards the end of Sunday and into Monday. So we have got a fair bit more rain still to come. You can see where it's set to target on this rainfall accumulation chart. Again, it's those classic spots up towards that eastern side of the North Line in towards Tairafti, Hawke's Bay, particularly places like the Ruahine Range, Carweka Forest Park, and up in towards, say, the Rail Coomeras again. But we are going to find more wet weather still with us. So we have still got that red heavy rain warning in place, especially up towards, say, Tairafti. But you can see we've got more watches and warnings. So watches for the likes of, say, those northern parts of Hawke's Bay, a warning for the southern parts of Hawke's Bay South about State Highway 5, watches for the Coromandel for the eastern parts of Marlborough, warnings as well for the likes of the ranges of the Tasman district west of Motueka. But we are going to focus, I think, to start with on this red heavy rain warning up in towards Tairafti. Now, as I say, as we go through the daytime today, we will start to find the rain easing away from those southern parts, but we're going to keep hold of this red warning for that heavy rain right the way through till midday on Sunday, especially about and north of Tolaga Bay. That's where we're going to find some of the heaviest rainfall as we go through the daytime there. In fact, we're going to find as much as 80 to 120 millimetres of rainfall north of Tolaga Bay. To the south, a little bit less, 60 to 80 millimetres of rain. And around the coast, we're going to find a little bit less as well, but 30 to 50 millimetres of rain by itself, that's still a fair amount of rainfall to come through in a period of until about midday on Sunday. But it's worth bearing in mind this is rain that's falling on top of already saturated soils, on top of an already very wet week, already wet month, and an already wet year so far. So it's a very wet story, more saturated conditions up there, and we've got more rain to come, as I say, right way through till midday on Sunday. Elsewhere on that eastern coast, we have got more warnings in place, particularly for those areas south of State Highway 5 in towards the Ruahine Range, the Carweka Forest Park, as much as 70 millimetres of rainfall up about those range areas. Lesser amounts down towards the coast, but again, still very wet story with that rain continuing through to around about 7 p.m. today, or that's when the warning expires anyway. We have also going to keep hold of that watch to those areas north of State Highway 5 and up across those northern parts of Hawke's Bay. As we saw, that rain transfers across towards places like the Coromandel and that western part of the Bay of Plenty, west of Te Puke, as we go through towards the rest of today and right the way through till midday Sunday. That rain continues to move through there, maybe enough to reach warning criteria. We'll keep an eye on that forecast, and I would recommend you do the same as well. Just keep an eye on that wet weather. We've already seen, again, a fair bit of wet weather across that Coromandel area, so we've got more building again on already very saturated conditions. We have seen some rainfall around the eastern parts of Marlborough as well. Not as much as we were first forecasting, which is good news. We've lifted the warning there. We are, however, going to keep hold of a rainfall watch just to keep in place as we go through the rest of the morning and through towards those very early hours of this afternoon, 2 p.m. on Saturday. But it doesn't look as bad as we were first worried about down through that eastern parts of Marlborough. However, we are going to keep hold of that heavy rain warning across those ranges of the Tasman district west of Motueka as we go through to around about 6 a.m. on Sunday. Now, as I said, keep an eye down towards the south as well. That's where our next lot of wet weather is coming from as we go through Sunday. You can see we get a bit of a clearer picture across the North Island on Sunday, but the next lot of rain comes in with westerly winds this time. So places like the western coast of the South Island up through Westland, Buller, and again, those ranges of the Tasman district, perhaps in towards Nelson as well, could find more wet weather. So we have another severe weather watch out for heavy rainfall. This time it's the western coast of the South Island, and that really kicks off from midday Sunday right the way through to midday on Monday. As always, we're the forecast team here right the way through the weekend, keeping you updated with all the latest information. You can find all of that at metservice.com.